This is Bagger's View. Coming up, we discuss the fallout from the Di Matteo sacking. Hello and welcome to Baggy's View. I'm Paul Bradley and I'm joined in our Fort Dunlop studios by Chris Lubkowski. Hi Chris.
Hi.
Well, Di Matteo is now gone from West Brom. Why has he left the club? Why have they got rid of him and why now?
Well, why now? It's probably a bit of a delayed reaction. He could have easily gone after the Blackpool game, which they won. Wigan again was another game where we weren't sure what the outcome would be if they were to lose, but it was looking likely then, and they drew, so he clung on, and Man City was inevitable defeat in many ways. So the timing was a little bit of a surprise. The actual gesture of sacking him wasn't. There's been a bit of tension, I think, for a while. The board didn't really back him in January. They brought in one player, a few went out. He wanted a target man, which he didn't get. He wanted a defender, which he didn't get. But on the other side, on the flip side, there's been a deterioration of results. 13 defeats, I think, out of 18, which is unacceptable. And there were one or two things that were causing a bit of alarm. Robbie wasn't the most diligent of managers when it came to scouting. When it came to team preparation, he had to be encouraged to go and see the forthcoming opponents play. So, when they were winning at Arsenal and Everton, it wasn't an issue, but it was starting to grind a little bit, and, it reached its inevitable climax.
What sort of relationship with the players did Di Matteo have? Because now there's going to be questions about how the players are going to react to this sacking.
Well, it's interesting, but, you're always going to get one or two who grumble, normally the ones who aren't in the team. But generally, they got on okay with him. There was respect for him. As with any manager, you're going to get grumbles or a little bit of moaning if they're not in the team or being played in a position they're not familiar with. But generally, I detected a few problems, certainly early on in the season. More recently, I think he lost his way a little bit with playing certain players out of position, certain team selections, which had us all scratching our heads at times. So, I wouldn't have been surprised if there had been a few grumbles among players who weren't playing, but generally there weren't any problems on that front.
Di Matteo's come out with a statement as well, saying that he was surprised that he's gone, especially after his good start to the season, and the League Managers Association have backed him as well, saying it's criticising this hire and fire kind of scenario. Do you think it's fair to say he's surprised? Should he have been given a bit more time?
It's never easy to make this decision. I think Albion would have taken 17th at any stage of the season in August. But it was the run of form that was really causing a lot of panic. But ideally, no, it isn't a good time to get rid of him. Not before two key games. It could in some ways galvanise the team. I'm not convinced that that's the case, but I think if they were going to make the change, and I can see no other logical time they could have done it other than at the start of January, to at least give a new manager time to get players in who he wanted. From that point of view, it's not the right time, but there never is a right time.
Now let's take a look ahead to who may be filling that position. We've got a long list in front of us here: Chris Hughton, Michael Appleton, Derek McInnes. There's a few of the bigger names. Martin O'Neill's on there. Let's start from kind of the ones who are more likely to be interested in the job. McInnes is going to be up there, isn't he?
Yeah, Derek. There's a big affinity between Derek McInnes and the club, and vice versa. I think he'd be an ideal candidate in that respect. He'd certainly get many of the fans on side. I think he'd get a bit more grace, and I think he's a manager that, crucially, that Michael Appleton would work with. The two go back a long way. They're good friends, and one of the problems of the Di Matteo reign is that Appleton was almost forced upon them a little bit. I don't think Appleton will allow that to happen this time, and that could be the one thing that actually swings it in a way for Derek. If they are so keen to keep hold of Appy, then maybe working with Derek might be the answer.
What about Roy Hodgson and Sam Allardyce? Because some fans may be looking for them to come in. They've got a lot of experience.
Well, Roy's the obvious candidate, actually. If you take a list of criteria, he would tick most boxes. My one reservation with Roy is that he'll want paying as an ex-Liverpool manager would want paying. He'll be on a big salary. Is it a high enough profile job for him? Don't know. difficult to say, really. I suspect he's the one they would go for in the first instance because he's got it all. Big Sam, for me, doesn't tick any of the boxes, really, with the exception of experience. His style of football is very robust. He's got a way of managing which doesn't fit into the way Albion work. The players that Albion have, which he can't change, of course, don't really lend themselves to that style of football. He would be the biggest surprise of all, really. I suspect he's generating generating bets because of who he is rather than the style of management.
And is anyone we can possibly rule out early doors here, the likes of maybe Martin O'Neill, Kevin McDonald, maybe even possibly Martin Yule?
Yeah, Martin Yule, I think, would be possibly the fans' choice overall if you were to list the candidates. I think he's the one who would get most votes. Martin, again, he's managed high-profile clubs. He's been at Ajax and at Hamburg, and he's out of work. But I suspect Albion have probably slipped underneath his expectations. I can't see that one happening. I think Martin O'Neill's a non-starter. Again, he's a little bit like Big Sam. He has a certain style of management where he likes control. He won't get that at West Brom. He'll have to work in tandem with Dan Ashworth, the technical director, so that's a non-starter. And Kevin McDonald, again, I can see no plausible reason as to why he would be the person they'd go for, other than the fact that he has coached.
Will they be looking to bring in someone pretty quickly now, though?
I think so, yeah. I don't think they want to drag this out too long. Whether they can manage it before Saturday, I don't know. I mean, Albion do have a history of dithering over such things, but there aren't any other clubs looking at managers at the moment. So they have got a fairly open market to choose from in that respect. I suspect they'll want to get somebody in ASAP, but they've got 2 key games coming up, so in a way they've got to focus a little bit on, certainly from the playing side, to get that right.
And the new person who does come in, what's he going to have to do? What's the crucial things he has to sort out at the club?
Well, Albion have made it clear that survival is the main objective, which is why I'm a little bit loath to completely rule out certain type of managers, because they do want a short-term fix. Now, that manager might well come in. If he keeps them up, he might keep the job. If he takes them down, he might keep the job. But first and foremost, they want survival, and I get the impression they might reassess it then, depending on the person and the manager who comes in. For example, Hodgson, I can't imagine he would stay if he took them down. If he stayed, then I'm sure he would get offered the job. But somebody maybe like Derek McInnes, for instance, if he took him down, possibly could be a long-term solution and stay at the club. So it's a difficult one to assess. First and foremost, they want to stay up, and that's what they're looking for in the manager at their point.
Okay, Chris, well, thanks for that today, and thank you for watching. We'll be back with more updates later in the week, and you'll be able to follow this story on birminghammail.net.